Hey everyone, Logan Hertz here with Hazeltine LLC. We're joined back again by DeAndre Clayton, frequent guest of the show. DeAndre, how you doing?
I'm good, man. How you doing, my guy?
Doing well. I like the shirt. I like the shirt,
Um,
man. Very nice.
you always talk about these shirts, man.
So we thought we'd talk today about the importance of developing a relationship with a good insurance agent slash financial professional. You know, I think it's something that people kind of miss when they're looking at their finances or anything really. They get too narrowly focused on a product
Mhm.
and they miss the importance of a consultative process with an expert. At the end of the day, the product itself doesn't really matter. What matters is how does it fit into your financial picture? So, I've spoken with Brad Owens about health insurance, and a lot of people talk about how much they hate health insurance. And I understand, I get it. But my question back to them would be who's your health insurance agent? Like, who did you speak to? Who's advising you? Who's helping you? The answer, of course, is nobody. They just signed up online or they signed up through their employer and they didn't really put much thought into it other than just looking at the options that were presented to them. And even if they did put thought into it, they're not really qualified to
Mhm.
understand all the options that are out there. So I'll give you an example. If you look at disability policies, which I sell, and I like disability income insurance. It's something that I think is a big gap in a lot of people's financial plans. And you can look at the lawsuits that are out there about people, not having their claims denied on disability, right? Well, I have a partner, Ben Feigenbaum. He's been in the disability business for 38 years and his father before him. Between the two of them, they've never seen a single claim denied ever. Never, not once. That's the difference between if you actually develop a relationship with a good agent who can help you out, right? And then if God forbid you have to file a claim, you're not calling a 1-800 number. You are talking to the agent with whom you have a deep, long-lasting relationship who understands you and your needs. You call him, he'll help you file the claim, he'll walk you through the process, he'll make sure it gets approved, right? Just like when we apply for a life insurance policy, I'm advocating for my client. I had a client just recently, we got him this he had a lot of health issues, but we were able to get him the standard rate by applying we applied with multiple different carriers. Of course, I pre-underwrite it. I went to all the carriers ahead of time, said, "Hey, here's the condition. What can you do?" And eventually we ended up actually going with a fraternal organization, not even an insurance company, because they were the only one that would actually give him the standard rate. Everybody else was going to give him a substandard rating, right?
Yeah.
And he's talking to me, a human being who understands him and his needs. And if he has any problems, he's not going to call a 1-800 number. He's going to talk to me. So I know I rambled on a lot there, but I guess a bit of my pet peeve is people whine and throw all sorts of hate and vitriol at the insurance industry.
Mm.
And some of that is definitely justified. I understand it. But the people who have the most hatred and vitriol to the insurance industry are people who have never, ever, ever bothered to find and develop a relationship with a good insurance agent. If they had, maybe their perception would be a little different. What are your thoughts, DeAndre?
Man, you said a mouthful that is so true. I think number one, I think people look down on the insurance industry simply because they feel as though they can do it themselves. And when the task becomes too big, it becomes a scam at that point, or the agents are bad, or whatever the case may
Yeah,
be.
and let me stop
Right.
you for a second. You can, in theory, do it yourself. Like, you can fix your own car. You don't have to take it to a mechanic. You can do it yourself, right? That doesn't mean that the mechanic adds no value and he's scamming you when he charges you for fixing your car, right? So can you do it yourself? Yes.
Yes.
If you're willing to really put in the time and effort to get good at it and understand it. And at that point, you might as well become an insurance agent.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And to that point, like you were mentioning, because there was a part that you said that I think the average person, the average consumer has no idea an insurance agent can do, which is pre-underwrite them without ever actually submitting an application. I've done it a few times and clients are like, "What?" What? And they're like, "Huh? How does this work?" And I'm like, "And look, just because there's some different circumstances here, I just want to do my due diligence." Now, the other aspect of it is insurance agents are the most knowledgeable about their industry. And a lot of people hate to admit that. Like especially if you're on LinkedIn, you hear an unreasonable amount of people who are like, insurance agents don't understand this, and insurance agents don't understand this about their own industry. And so it insinuates that the insurance agent is not still the one who understands insurance more than people outside of the industry. And I hate to tell people this, but there is nobody outside of the insurance industry who understands the insurance policies, the insurance companies more than the insurance agent. This is not
Right. And specific niches too, right? Like,
right.
obviously, we're talking generically here, but when we say insurance, obviously, you wouldn't go to a life insurance agent to get advice on health insurance,
No,
right?
right.
Now,
Right.
I do offer all of that stuff, but I do it through partners. So I do health insurance, but I do it with my partner, Brad Owens. He understands health insurance. I have my health insurance license, but he has the depth and breadth of knowledge. When it comes to life insurance, even there, I'm in a specific niche, right? So we're talking generically here, but obviously it's more specialized than that, right? If I do
Right.
disability income insurance, I work with Ben Feigenbaum. He's my partner
Right.
there. He understands disability at a level that it would be unrealistic for me to, right?
Mhm. Yeah. And so in essence, now if we apply it to life insurance agents, I know which companies are more lenient on conditions.
Right.
But if you've not been in the business, you would not know that. And therefore, a lot of what you're assuming, or a lot of even what some of your financial advisors may assume, it's based on a very shallow well of information. They don't have the practice of being in insurance. And so there's a certain respect that needs to be paid for any individual who's a professional. Like whatever they do, you can't just go in and say, "Hey man, I know way more about that than you," right? Like I remember meeting with Peter before, and one thing Peter was talking to me about was low risk or low volatility structured notes, right? Now at that point I had not heard of structured notes, but I was not gonna, you know, make it seem as though, oh, structured notes, oh no, they can't be any good in somebody's financial. That's just ridiculous. Because that's his expertise and that's what he does on a regular basis, right? And so I think where people, especially insurance in general, because I don't think people do this with realtors. I don't think people do this with mechanics. I don't think people do this with the HVAC guy. I don't think people do this with the guy who's the plumber, right? Most of them, when somebody walks into your home to perform some form of maintenance, you simply trust them and you walk away, or you like, all right, you're under there. I'm gonna just go away and I'm gonna let you handle this. Right. So you understand the advocacy and the specialty there. But when it comes to life insurance, even, and I think it's because of, the phrases that have been used, like buy term, invest the difference. So it even makes it seem like term doesn't have different types. And when you talk about whole life, it makes it seem like whole life or permanent life insurance doesn't take other forms. And then even if you go into whole life, they don't understand that there's different structures. They don't know what non-direct recognition is. They don't know what direct recognition is. They don't know what non-participating is. They don't know what participating is. And you can go on and on and on about what they don't know, but they believe they know because of the simplicity maybe of the wording that, oh, if you buy term is cheaper, whole is more expensive. And it's like, but that's a very surface level understanding
Well, and I think
of
the
things.
the average consumer has and doesn't really think about developing a relationship with a financial professional who understands insurance.
Right.
Maybe they'll have a financial advisor, but typically your financial advisor is an investment guy.
Hmm.
He does investments. That's what he does. And if he's being honest with you, he'll tell you he doesn't really understand insurance, and maybe he'll partner with someone who does, right? Um, and so when you are the sort of person who views insurance as just a cost to be minimized, they'll call it things like it's a scam, yet they'll still buy it because they feel like, well, I need homeowners insurance or whatever. And you view the insurance agents as basically scam artists and they're kind of scummy and they're just chasing a commission. Do you think any good insurance agent is going to waste his time with you?
Yeah.
We can smell that on you.
The
When you
smoke.
have that
Yeah.
kind of contempt for the industry and the product, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, guys. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy because then you're just going to be looking to minimize your time with any agent. You'll probably never even speak to one, and you'll just think you know it yourself and buy the wrong thing or buy the cheapest thing or buy the thing that appears to be the best, right? Based on your own lack of understanding. And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The people who work with me are people who place a value on insurance. And more importantly, they understand it has to fit into your broader financial picture. It's not just a commodity, it's not just an individual product to be bought and sold, right? And they place a very high value on it because they understand what financial problems it's solving for them. They understand how it fits into their overall financial picture. And they have someone like me that they can call whenever they have questions or problems, right? My clients don't call 1-800 numbers. Okay.
Yeah.
They don't have to waste any time trying to navigate an insurance bureaucracy. They talk to me. Now,
Yeah.
if it's something simple, they can go to the portal and self-serve. Maybe they'll call a 1-800 number if it's something simple. But beyond that, they're never stressed out about it. They have no problem navigating the insurance company because they have an advocate who does it for them. That's me.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think what you're talking about is the difference between a client who approaches what is the cost and what's the purpose, right? And so it's really easy to weed out somebody who is cost shopping, just because they don't really want to learn about the product, they don't want to learn about a process, they don't care about strategy at all. They're just like, well, how much is it going to cost me to get one of these things? And so a skilled insurance agent is not an order taker. And I think a lot of people don't know that. They believe that insurance agents only exist for commission. And so they're like, well, if I just tell them what to do, they'll they'll give me what I want, right? And no, that's not how it is, especially not an insurance agent who has spoken with actuaries, not an insurance agent who has had one-on-one conversations with multiple underwriters. They don't just carry themselves in a way that you can just tell them what to do. You can tell them what you desire and what you're trying to accomplish, and then they'll collaborate with you. And I'll just say this: if you never had a collaborative process and all you did was talk directly to the insurance agent to tell them what you want and not how you want it to be done or is it even feasible, that's one of the sleazy insurance guys if they accept it, right? The ones that oh god, all these insurance guys are here for commission. Well, you kind of create that dynamic yourself if you're not looking for advocacy. Like if
Yep. It's again a self-fulfilling
yeah,
prophecy.
if
It's a
you
self-fulfilling prophecy. I'm here to advise you.
right.
Okay. I spent a lot of time in the consulting space and I did IT consulting software as well. And the wrong thing to do is have the client tells you, here's what I want. And then you give it to them. No, no, no. Just
No,
back up a step, have a strategic conversation. What are you trying to accomplish, Mr. Client? Because I'm the expert on software, not you. And then
gotcha.
I'll help you figure out the best way to accomplish it. And to your point, it's a collaborative process. I can't just give you a piece of software and it's going to fix your problems. That's not the way it works. You got to collaborate with me. You've got to know how to use the software properly, right? And we're not just going to automate your broken process. We're going to change your process, right? To better fit the software, right? And then we're going to train you, make sure you know how to use it. And so it's a collaborative process. And then you end up with a solution that actually solves your problems and puts you ahead, not just a commodity, not just a product.
Right.
So yeah, because it's a hard thing to do. I understand why insurance agents sometimes do it, or anyone. It's when someone says, "Hey, I want this." It's easy to say, "Okay, here it is," and you make your money.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
easy to do that when really the right thing is say, "Hold on, slow down, slow down. What are we trying to accomplish here?"
Yep.
Right? Back up a step because usually I can find a better way to accomplish it. Right?
Right.
And I'll probably save you money if you are willing to take the time to give me a bigger picture of your finances and take some advice. You
Yep.
know,
Yep.
if you already know what you want, maybe you can go online and just buy it. And I got news for you. There's still an agent collecting a commission. That's the thing too. Like
Yeah.
what Brad Owens was
I
talking
know.
about. He's
That's
like,
what we talked
"Folks,
about
when
too.
you
Yeah.
go online and buy a health insurance policy, there's an agent collecting a commission. You've
Little
never
agent.
spoken with him. He's never advised you at all, but there's still a commission paid."
He gets dibs. Yeah, that's a fact. That's a fact. And on top of that, like, I it's funny, I responded to a message, I think it was yesterday. It was a young lady who was really brilliant in the annuity space. And she said she was getting her Series 65. And so she said, "Oh, it took me some time to bring this to the table and everybody know. And I know they're thinking, oh, not the girl who always bashed the fiduciaries." Right? And so she started talking about how she wanted to become a fiduciary to collect money for giving advice, even if the client didn't, do what they were supposed to do. And and I I voiced the opinion that insurance agents are not pocket watchers. In the industry of financial services, insurance agents want everybody to be successful. They do not care how you make money. That's not how insurance. You only find that on the fiduciary side, where they're like, "Oh man, they're gonna make money." But the reality is if a person brings you value, why don't you want them to be compensated?
Right.
if
Right.
if you go into this and your best way of finding out about insurance policies is Google, and then you try to apply for a policy based on what you saw on Google, why would you want that person on the other end who has never met you, who has never spent time with you, to be the person compensated? Not to say I wouldn't mind being that type of person. I don't know anybody who would mind getting a book of business that they never met the client, but the reality is, for you as the end user, as the client who is wanting advice or wanting a product, even if it's just I want a product, why would you not want a face with the product? I've never understood that concept of, not having somebody who I can say, "Hey, you know that thing I got from you? What is this?" Right? And it happens rampantly in the Medicare realm, right? Because I'm also Medicare licensed. I see it happen so often where older people are called, they have no idea what kind of coverage they have because they don't have an advocate anymore. They just bought something from telesales. And they're lost. I mean, they are lost every time something bad happens. And then they get into this situation where they have PTSD because of not really having a good relationship with the company because they got it through a telesales and not through an actual agent who they can say, "I know what he looks like. He came to my house, or we sat on a Zoom, or anything like that. I have a contact number. I have an email to, reach out to." So I've never understood the concept of not wanting to be associated with the person unless there's something like, I'll tell you, I don't mean this in no way. My E&O insurance guy. At this point, I don't know who the E&O insurance person is. My errors and omissions person. I could care less in that particular situation, but that's because it doesn't really have a huge effect on my business. Like in my life, it's like, okay, I purchase it, I'm covered. As long as I act like I got some sense and I take care of my clients, I'll never have to submit an errors and omission claim anyway. So I can control my access, to having to deal with this type of insurance. But for many of you, whether it be disability insurance, whether it be long-term care insurance, health insurance, life insurance, you got to think, if you're going to have a product and you know that you're going to use the product, why would you not want somebody to talk to that knows the product better than you?
And the commission is getting paid anyway, so
Yeah.
it's not like if you just do it yourself, then, "Oh, I cut that agent out." No, there's still an agent collecting
No,
commission. It's always
absolutely.
baked into the cake. It's always baked into the cake. And it comes back to this really dark psychology, this really Marxist, envious, just horrible mindset where you feel like, "Oh, someone made money off of me. That means he stole it from me." And it's like, no, value can be created, right? I want the professionals I'm working with to make as much money as possible because I know they're not stealing it from me. They're not stealing it from me. They're not robbing me. That commission is not like the evil insurance agent put a gun to my head and pulled money out of my pocket. And I feel like I've been just totally robbed and gypped
Yeah,
because he made some money. That makes you an envious loser. That is the attitude of an envious loser. Don't be that person.
yeah,
Don't be that person. Have the abundance mindset. The most
yeah,
successful people in any business, in any industry, are people who are generous. They are people who reward their partners. That's how they attract the best partners. The most successful companies pay generous salaries, generous benefits. That's how they attract the best employees, right? Wealth is not a zero sum game. Okay. It's an exponentially increasing game. The
yeah,
way that entrepreneurs, business owners, insurance agents make money is by creating value, by adding value to other people, and they make money from the value they create. So it's a win-win scenario. It's not win-lose, it's win-win-win. Everybody wins. The insurance company wins. The family that's now protected wins. The agent wins. Any beneficiaries on that policy, they win. Like everybody wins.
yeah,
That's what good business is,
yeah,
right? So when
yeah,
people have this attitude, I just don't want to work with them, you know. And now they end up not ever talking to someone like me. Why would they? Or if they do, they self-select out of the process pretty quickly, right?
right,
Because they don't
right,
really want to engage, you know.
yeah,
They just want everything on a silver platter for free and not have to do any work, right? They don't, of course, they don't even know what a silver platter looks like because they have no education on it. But you know,
yeah, right, yeah.
so it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy,
Yeah.
right?
And to your point, I would say for a person who struggles to think like that, as far as wanting anybody who does business for you to be successful, I want you to think about the vital parts of your life, right? So I'm sorry, but I like that postal workers are paid well. I do. I like that the guy who walks on the power lines, that he's not broke. I want him to be paid well because there's certain essential roles too. That's like if he was paid like, just any old body,
Yeah, how about the doctor performing a really important
working,
surgery on you?
you know what I'm saying?
You do you want him to be gypped? Like, no, don't give him any money. No, you want
Right.
him paid well. You want him
You want him
highly
paid well.
motivated to do it right. I want it
Right.
done right, and I want you
Right.
paid well, so you're motivated to do it right, you know?
Absolutely. So that aspect of being myopically focused on how much somebody is being paid it's a really weird one because you don't carry it everywhere in your life. Like, if you went to a five-star restaurant, you match cost and value at that time. You understand that, man, this is about to be the best lamb chop I ever had in my life, right? And so inherently what you do is you're willing to pay
But don't ever tip that waiter. Don't tip that waiter.
you're
He's
gonna
not allowed to
tip
make
them. You're gonna tip them. You're gonna, especially if they served you well, you're gonna tip them.
Yeah,
Right? And
yeah.
so I think that, people have to, it's a selfish mindset to not want to get the best service at no cost.
It's not just selfishness, it's hatred of other people
Yeah.
because you are not just being selfish. You are taking advantage of or trying to take advantage of other people who are trying to serve you. These other people are trying to serve you and you treat them with contempt and you want them to make no money. So it's not just being selfish, it's actually hating other people because people I that's a word I don't really use. But people, I've seen it. You've probably seen it on LinkedIn and elsewhere where they'll talk about how
Oh,
much they hate
yeah.
insurance and they hate
They
insurance
hate
agents.
insurance guys. Yeah.
Like, that makes you a hateful person.
Yeah.
And why would I want to waste my time doing business with a hateful person who hates me and who
Yeah.
hates my industry? It's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
No good high quality insurance agent is ever going to work with someone like that.
Yeah. 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 And I would assume these people have their own jobs. So how do they feel, when they're performing whatever service? Because I mean, you can't make money unless you're serving somebody in some way. Right.
Right.
That's just a reality. Um, but everybody always wants a raise.
Mhm.
They always feel like they're being underpaid. But they wanna underpay everybody else, and so they don't understand companies, but a lot of people move with the mentality of a company or a poorly ran company that doesn't want to pay the people who work there to do good work, and so I think that when you do that, you run the risk of the turnover that a company would have that doesn't want to pay somebody well, so everything that happens to you from your experience of an insurance agent will probably be negative. Everything that happens to you, even from your experience of investing, right? Like if you want to just go out here and invest and pick what you want to pick without adequate knowledge, you're probably going to want to blame somebody, but you can only blame you. Right?
Yeah, and I think what you pointed out there about businesses, I think was really good that some people have this idea that the only way I can give my customers more value is by taking value away from myself and my employees, right? Like the
Mhm.
only way I can give my customers a deal is by slitting the throats of my employees and underpaying them,
Right.
and then I could give my customers the difference. That goes back to treating wealth like it's a zero sum game, which it is not. And you see this from some bad insurance agents who brag about how little money they make. Now that
Mhm.
should make you suspicious, right? Like, wait a minute, you're running a profitable business. So why are you bragging about how little
Right.
money you make? And what they're doing is they're trying to say, well, those other insurance agents are just trying to make a higher commission, but I'm so self-sacrificing, I can make a lower commission. Like, okay, time out. Every business that is successful, they pay their employees well, right? That goes together. Value creation, treating your employees well goes with value creation and treating your customers well. It doesn't work the other way around. If you underpay your employees, you're not going to be a successful business. You're not going to have high quality products at a good cost. You're not because you're not going to be able to attract the right help, right? So those insurance agents who brag about how little in commission they make are usually some of the worst. And what they're doing is they're making it up in volume, right? Is really what they're doing, you know. So because like I said in another episode, it's counterintuitive, but the most profitable products out there are the cheapest. And the companies that make the most money are the ones that have the lowest cost products. So what those insurance agents are doing is they're offering you a very low cost product, which and the reason why they do all this stuff is not to cut their own commission. That's ridiculous. Every business is out there to make profits. No one's trying to cut their own profits. They're not
Right.
running a charity. It's totally dishonest. You should be very suspicious whenever anyone says that. What they're doing, the reason why they do it is because it's an easy sale. That's why. It's a much easier sale when you offer a lower cost product, and then you can make much more in volume. And so those agents are not really solving their clients' problems. They're not serving them. They're just giving them something that's cheap. And so they can sell a lot of it. And then they can say, well, I'm better than those other scam artists selling you those high cost products. It's like, yeah, if you want a high value product, it's going to cost a high amount. And by the way, I never focus on the product. It's about what financial problem are we solving? It's about the solution. It's about financial efficiency and how these products fit into it. Right.
Mhm.
So no, I'm not trying to lower my commission to the bare minimum. I'm trying to make as much money as I possibly can, and I make absolutely no apologies for that. Because the only way you make a lot of money is by adding a lot of value. And my commission ends up where it ends up. I just solve my clients' problems. Whether my commission is high, low, or in the middle, doesn't matter. Over the long
Mhm.
run, I give my clients the best quality that I can, and the money comes. I'm not sitting there with a measuring stick, right? Like you would say, "Oh, that's too much. That's got to get right in there." No. Am I solving my clients' problems? Am I improving their financial efficiency? Am I educating them? Do they really understand what they bought
What
and
they
why they
bought.
bought it? Because I guarantee you those guys bragging about how little money they make, their customers don't have a clue as to what they actually bought. He's not spending time educating on them. He's not getting compensated well enough for that per client, right? So, bit of a rabbit hole there. But yeah, whenever anyone brags about how little money they're making, you should be very suspicious. They're running a profitable business. Like what? I'll brag about how much money I'm making because that's an indication of how much value you've created, right? Steve Jobs made a ton of money. Why? Because he stole it? Because he's taking advantage of all those hapless, naive customers? No, because he added a tremendous amount of value by innovating, right?